Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. Today we're going to be taking a look at another Club 3D card. This time it's the 7870 Joker card. Now, before you all click off and think, oh, it's a 7870, I don't want to know, you do really need to be paying attention because this isn't an ordinary 7870, this is a Tahiti LE version. And for those of you out there that didn't know, AMD have secretly rolled out a new 7870. Now the thing is, it's got more to kind of compare with a 7950 than a 7970 really, which is why the lines have been blurred so much. Essentially what they've done is knocked 256 stream processors off of a 7950 and then called it a 7870 Tahiti LE. So it is slightly confusing. And by that, I think personally it should have been called the 7930. But anyway, now another good thing about this is when the 7870 first came out, and we've reviewed a few of them, the first ones we looked at were about 270 quid each. And we gave it a gold award because at that moment in time, there were the cards that we were comparing it to around the same pricing. The 7870 was still a good value card. Since then though, prices have fallen on their bum cheeks, and this actually comes in at 177 quid. Now what I want to do, we need to have a close look at the card, look at some benchmarks, and then obviously move on to a conclusion and stuff. But I'm quite excited about this, so let's see if it performs as well as you might think it would on paper. Hokey chokey, so a closer look at the card. Now first thing to point out is the two 6-pin power connectors up here. Also, if I zoom you in a bit, compared to some of the other Club 3D cards, hopefully it will focus, there we go, you can see that there is a black PCB. The other ones that I've seen so far have been red, so that's a nice touch. So we come back out again and we'll have a more sensible look. Now if you have a look just in here, you can see there are two heat pipes there. And there are 3 more at the top, so you've got 5 heat pipes there in the total with that single fan in the middle. Now as I'm looking around trying to find my tape measure, aha, we will give the old look. So you're looking at about 92 millimeters there for your fan. Single one in the middle, then the rest is like an aluminium shroud all the way around. While I'm up this end, if you have a look, there's only one crossfire bridge, which means you can only put it in crossfire with one other card. Oh, kick their tripod. Such a professional. Anyway, one of the things I did want to say about is with that single fan, I have just touched the mic by the way, with that single fan, the temperatures are alright, they're acceptable, they stay below 80. You only really kind of find the limits when you really start to push the overclocks with it. Most of you out there that, do you know what I mean, aren't silent freaks, this won't bother you. The silent freaks out there probably will want to set up their own fan profiles and maybe run slightly warmer temperatures. But that's about it really. Black PCB, 1 crossfire bridge, 2 times 6-pin power, single fan, 5 heat pipes in total. That's about it. Looks like all the other Club 3D cards. Other than that black PCB really. I'll flick the old rig on. Now most of the noise that you're going to be hearing is the power supply. Now the graphics card's on itself. It's not massively loud there, it's not really, you don't really start to notice until you get up to load. Still not even finished posting or anything yet. The joys of the long boot up on a Rampage 4 Extreme. But anyway, that's enough guys and girlies. I'm going to move on to some benchmarks. Right then peeps, now if you were to have to guess on which one of these was a 7870 result and which one of these the 7950 result was, you would say that was a 7950 and this was the 7870. Strange thing is, it's the opposite a way round. Now, one thing we do have to say is this is the original 7950 that we tested when we very first got them. So there have been driver improvements. But just recently we tested the Club3D 7950, and if anything, it was a bit under this score, and that was with recent drivers and everything like that. So we think this is quite a fair representation of a 7950 here, and you can see that the Tahiti LE over there, 83,064. Now it's the normal bench rig, Rampage 4, 3960X, 16 gig of Corsair Dominator Platinum, Corsair Neutron GTX 240, and then the AX 1200 watt, and then obviously a H100i, keeping it all cool. We've made all of the, although this is a 2560 by 1400 1440 monitor, we are running it, we did run all the games in 1920 by 1080, so you know, it didn't make any difference in that respect. But yeah, so it really threw me, the difference in these scores. Now if I move across again, we'll go up to the extreme, and then you can see it again, 2475 for this Tahiti LE, or the Joker card, whatever you want to put it, and then the original 7950, 2294. Don't forget we have tested the 7950 recently, but we're just doing the ones because these scores are actually slightly better than the Club3D scores that we got with the 7950. So again, we move on to 3D Mark Vantage. P score of, oh, I do apologise, let's check we're in the right place. No, there we go. Right, P score 33,033. That's with a GPU score of 30,098. Moving across to the original one, 31,673. That's with a GPU score of 28,531. So onto Vantage X, 14,962 with a 14,445 GPU score against a 14,810 total score with a 14,294 average. Now essentially this really is benchmarks, obviously, just to show you. And if you want to see the full list of games, the games we've tested in the written review is Far Cry 3, Medal of Honor Warfighter, Sleeping Dogs. There's loads of them in there, all the kind of quite a few of the latest titles, quite a few of the, you know, slightly older ones. But this again is just to show you, you know, what's possible. Now what we're going to do is just quickly, I'm going to open Heaven. Now Heaven, literally open, not touch anything, just going to click run. As soon as that starts up, I'll benchmark it and I'll show you the scores once it's finished. Right then, so we've done the Heaven benchmark. As I showed you before, it's just open and run. Got an FPS at the top there, frames per second of 56.2 with a total score of 1415. Minimum FPS was 26.8 and then maximum FPS was 123. You can see all the hardware there underneath, and then at the bottom, just to clarify the settings that were run. So still a wicked score for this card. Not to kind of forget that this card only cost 177 quid. It really is the golden ticket. But anyway, what we will do now, we've done a fair bit here. What I want to do is move on and we can talk about a decent conclusion and get things wrapped up. Hokey chokey then, peeps. So we're moving on to a conclusion now. And what we're going to do is say the award, or as I should say in this case, the awards, because there are more than one, and then we'll explain why. So we're going to give it the gold and the value for money award. Now, to be fair, for 170 quid, the scores this thing are knocking out are nuts. It's actually performed, especially in the benchmarks, better than the 7950s that I've tested. Much better than the Club3D 7950 that I tested. A lot of people give me a bit of jip for the 7950 review, saying their ones didn't overclock that well. Well, mine was gash at stock, but overclocked like Billy. I think most people, it sounds like they're going to be the other way around. This thing, there's no voltage options when you do go to overclock it, but you can get, I got mine up to 1150. I would have thought most people will be, because it's 925 out of the box, I would have thought most people, and I mean average people, because you've only really got to move a slider up, should be able to get 1050 to 1100 easy, maybe able to even push it further. It really depends on your abilities at the end of the day. So it goes well out the box. Overclocking just makes it that little bit better. It actually gobbles up the games as well. If you make sure you click the link underneath to go and have a look at it in the graphs, it is in-game titles, bar a couple, and they're very kind of like specific game titles anyway. It does perform up there with the 7950. Now, one thing that we didn't do, or didn't put in the review, we didn't do any sort of over high def, sort of like high res gaming. So we've done everything at 1920 by 1080. I did do some 2560 by 1440 tests, but it was for £177 card. You're not going to be hooking it up to a high res screen anyway. But that was where the point where it did drop off quite rapidly. The games, you would have had to have been turning them down and such like. But then you're not going to be looking at a card like this and then looking at a massive screen. Don't forget, I know there's a lot of people out there going, well, I've got a 46-inch screen. Don't forget, it's the resolution, not how big your bloody panel is. This is a 27-inch screen, but it's 2560 by 1440. Yet in my front room, I've got a 46-inch TV. That's only 1920 by 1080. Which one is it going to run worse on? The smaller one, because of the resolution. So all those of you out there that keep going on about my 32-inch telly, my 40-inch telly, my 46-inch telly, just say my HD screen. It really doesn't make any difference to your graphics card. But anyway, off topic, we'll move back to this. So it's not so good with over HD resolutions, but to be fair, for 177 quid, you wouldn't really expect it to be either. Plus there's only 2 GB of video card memory on there anyway. So 177 nicker, basically a trimmed down 7950, but by the results that we've done, and we've done them a few times to make sure, it is performing better than the 7950s that we've had. To the point where we even thought, well, maybe we should go back and give the Club3D another run. And we put it through the tests again, and it literally was putting out all the same scores again. So this just seems to go like a train. But the scores are on par with the ones that everyone else is getting with other Tahiti LE cards. So it's not like before people start shouting, oh, he's won the Silicon Lottery, cherry picked, all that kind of mumbo jumbo. It is just because it's a bloody good card. So the best thing I can say is, if there's people out there now that are thinking to themselves, am I gonna, I've got about 200 quid to spend, and I get a lot of people asking me now, I've got about this much money to spend, this is the card you should be buying. 177 quid. That's actually, if you go to the review, we'll put a click link at the top, so that'll take you to where you can get it. There is a place in the UK at this moment in time. They've not got stock as I'm making the video, but tomorrow's the 14th of January 2013. Either tomorrow or Tuesday they'll be getting more stock. So the Club3D rep's trying to get them to put up a pre-order thing on there for you again, because the last lot they got, they sold. And to be fair, there's a bloody good reason for it, because they are such a good value card. And that's why we gave it gold and the value for money. And now to put this into context, this thing goes so well for so little. This is making me remember the days of like when the 8800 GT come out. Yeah, it's an Nvidia card, but bollocks. And I bought one of them. Crikey, I stomped around Tottenham Court Road looking for that left, right and centre. Anyway, yeah, I know I should have ordered it from an online retailer, but I was in London and I wanted to go and pick it up. Anyway, so back then, the 8800 GT took a kind of like striding step forward with kind of game performance around a decent price point. This, to be fair, has taken a great big leap forward as well, because this outperforms any of the other cards in that kind of price bracket at this point in time, because to be fair, it's performing as good, if not better, than cards more expensive than it at this present moment in time. It really is a little cracker. I can't recommend this to you budget conscious gamers enough. I mean, we were in two minds whether to give it a gamer or a gamer's choice award, but value for money should kind of like properly stand up here. The numbers that this thing pushes out for 177 quid are amazing. So I will, just to recap, I need to find my remote. Where did I put it? It's in my pocket. Right, way up. Right, so it's an absolute little cracker. If you're trying to put a kind of like a basic gaming rig together, it's all well and good. Just remember that if it's a gaming rig, then the most important thing to be putting in your rig is the graphics card. CPU and all the rest of it doesn't really matter that much. It's only really when it comes to benchmarks and whether you're going to be video rendering and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter whether you're running an 1156 750 or an 1155 i3. If you've only got a limited amount of money, try and spend the bigger amount of it on your graphics card. You could build a system around this for under 500 nicker, and the scores wouldn't be far off what I've shown you here today. And I mean wouldn't be far off at all. You don't need to worry about bottlenecking or anything like that. Bottlenecking's a dirty word, and it's not really kind of usable in today's day and age until you're doing stupid stuff like putting a 680 with an i3 or something daft like that. But you're not going to do it, are you? But anyway, it's a right little cracker. If you're in the market for a card under the £200 mark, this one is an absolute no-brainer. If you're in the market for a 7950, I'd actually be telling you to sit down and severely think, would you be better off saving that 50 quid, buying this, and then putting the money towards something else in your rig? Because to be fair, I mean, as I've shown you, and I know I've just said to you about spending more on your graphics, and now I'm telling you to save, but think about what I said to you about the 7950 performance that we've had out of the cards recently. This thing is performing better than a 7950 in pretty much everything, or up to and including it, and that's stock for stock. If you give it a bit of an overclock boost as well, it can beat a stock 7950 in everything. So that should be kind of a little thing there for you to be thinking about. But undeniably an epic card. Now, one thing I will say is the Joker 7870 from Club3D, that is the Tahiti LE version. So if you're going to get a Club3D 7870 and you're buying it based on this review, you need to make sure that you get the Joker card. The cards below it, the Queen and the King and all that kind of ones, are the older 7870, so you need to make sure that you get the Joker. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with the second review of 2013. I'm feeling back in the groove now. Maybe it's because Orca's sat by the side of me. It's not finished yet, still got stuff to do. But anyway, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.